Hello and welcome to our first coaching session together. Thank you so much for being here. Before we get started, I want to make sure you have a way to take notes. You can pause the session and take care of that now. You can really also pause the session anytime you like if you want to let something sit with you or if you need to go get a drink of water. So let's start with checking in. I want you to notice how you're feeling now. If you have any big things on your mind, you may want to jot down a few of these things to help clear your mind and be present. Today we're going to be talking about finding your life purpose. So let's put everything else aside. If questions come up as you are watching this video, don't forget to post them in the comments or on the Facebook page. So again, you can stop the video at any time to reflect or integrate the information. All right, so let's get on to it. So what I'm hearing from you, and I really appreciate those of you who took the time to email me with what's going on in your life. I really appreciated those in-depth emails that I got from so many of you. I know it can be scary to be opening up something that you're struggling with in an email, so I really appreciate you taking that effort because it allows me to go more in depth and get more specific to what you are struggling with. You may hear some Spanish banter in the background. I'm in Mexico right now, so there's some people on the street. Okay, so what I'm hearing from you is that you are feeling empty doing what you're doing, that you don't know what is going to really fulfill you, and you're scared to pick the wrong thing and invest a bunch of energy only to find that that isn't it either. So these were the main areas that I heard from you. And I'm going to actually work it kind of backwards, addressing each of these issues kind of in reverse order. So being scared of doing the wrong thing. Odds are you are not ever going to just wake up and know exactly what you should be doing with your life. You're only going to find out by doing the wrong thing. The wrong thing. You pick something you think you might like and you explore it, only to find that in fact it's not perfect, it's not what you thought it would be, it's not making you jump out of bed with joy every morning. It actually takes fine-tuning. It doesn't necessarily mean that you made the wrong choice. It just means that maybe some adjustments need to be made. Maybe you feel like you already have made a mistake and that's what's having you be hesitant to picking something else, starting something new. That is actually only true if you stick with something that you know isn't working without making the adjustments. If you keep moving and getting to know yourself better and better as you do, then everything you try furthers you on your path. So there really are no mistakes. Even if your current job feels like it was a mistake, you can make it an ally right now, and we're going to get more into that later. So being adaptable is really, really key. Life purpose is a conversation between you and the world, and the conversation constantly changes. There is no, it didn't work out, or it was too hard. You stay in the conversation. You stay present to and committed to what you know you want, and then you fine-tune. You stay engaged with the questions like, what am I good at, or what fulfills me, or what is the world asking for from me? What lights me up? Who can I serve? These kinds of questions. You stay in touch with those questions. It's not like you find something and then you get to forget about it. Now this leads me into another aspect of this idea that you might make a mistake. This is a common thing in Western culture especially, where we have this idea that if we get it right, then we're done. And that's one of the reasons why we have a 50% divorce rate. Because we have this feeling like, oh, it's so hard to figure out what we want and then communicate about it and stay engaged and stay in relationship. It's so difficult to deal with out there and in here at the same time and figure out how it can work harmoniously and mutually beneficial. But the truth is, there is no setting it and forgetting it. Not in love, not in work, not in life purpose. It's an ongoing conversation. So that means you need to keep listening, just like any other relationship. You listen, you learn, you consider, you integrate it, and then you respond. So you change your behavior according to what you're getting. You also don't just bail blindly because something feels off. You learn why it feels off. What is working and what is not working, what lights you up and what doesn't. It is a constant dance of a little more of what you love and a little less of what you don't. This also means that some degree of commitment is absolutely mandatory. You have to stick with things long enough to learn from them. So if every time you maybe start taking a class and you find something that you don't like about it, you give up, you're not going to get a lot of information from that experience that leads you to something that's a little bit truer to your heart. So let's lead that into the second question that was brought up to me, which is, what is my purpose? So if you are in a place where you don't know what to try, it's not so much that you're afraid to try, it's that you really don't know which thing to try. So purpose is the sweet spot of doing what you are brilliant at and being of service to others. You probably have a lot of options within that. So finding your purpose is largely about choice and commitment. It's not that there is one singular path that you have to follow, and that if you're not following that, then you're off. It's just a matter of choosing things that feel aligned. And what I mean by feel aligned is they are both true to you, so you're being real with yourself, you're being authentic, you're not having to fake anything, you're getting to give what you're best at, and that the environment that you're in wants what you're best at, that they are benefiting from you being who you are, you doing what you do. So there's a lot of areas where that might be the case. I mean, for me, being a mom is definitely one of those things where I get to be who I am, and my gifts are greatly appreciated. Also coaching, also dance. There are so many things, and it wasn't that, it wasn't for me, it wasn't a matter of finding the right one, it was a matter of choosing. Out of all of the paths that fit that description, which one am I choosing? Which one am I going to pursue and stick with? Even though, maybe some other thing would have been nice too. Maybe I could have been a professional dancer. Maybe shoulda, coulda, woulda, who knows? Some degree of commitment is really necessary. It really is about your choice. And also, when you've made that choice, exploring it, fine-tuning it, as I said before. So let's talk about how you narrow it down when you have this long list of things that feel like this is sort of who you are, this is sort of what you feel like, this is something that would sort of offer value to other people. You want to start making it real. Imagine going down each path and make it as realistic as possible. A good judge, or a good way to do this, is to weigh out how much do you love something plus how much value does it offer to others, and weigh that against how hard is it and how many components are there that you don't love. So an example would be, I really like helping people. I like playing a role in people's health and well-being. Now, I am also natural at finding what's going on with somebody, navigating and finding the problem area. Now, I could be a doctor, but if I weigh how much I love helping people in this way, and how much I love being of service in this way, against 8 years of medical school and prescribing medicine, all these components that I don't like, it starts to be really clear that that's not my path. So you can do this with all the things on your list. You go through and you see, well, I don't really want to spend that much time in school. It's actually not worth it. Now, there's a big difference between this process and crossing things off because you think that they are impossible or because of made-up limitations. So an example of this, I could say, I can't start a business because I don't have any business training, or I can't be a dancer because I'm just not that talented. Those are made-up excuses. On the other hand, I might say, starting a business is more risk than I am willing to take, or I don't love dance enough to make it my life. You may not have the answer to this immediately, so again, you do need to experiment, start researching, and test the waters by maybe taking a class, volunteering, or talking to others with similar interests. There may be some things that are an easy option but don't light you up. So kind of the opposite of the situation that I just described, where maybe something lights you up, but there's really more work involved than you're actually going to stick with. The opposite side of that, and this is something that I see people do very frequently, is they go for something that they know is going to be easy for them, even though it doesn't excite them. And this is actually very key in transitioning from something that you hate doing to something that's truly your purpose. And it can be a support. And we're going to get more into that kind of support role in the next coaching video when we talk about exit strategies. But ultimately, what you need to know is that is not your life purpose. That is not going to fulfill you. So an example of this might be, let's say that you've been working as an accountant for a large corporation for many, many years. And you know that world, you know how to do that like the back of your hand. It doesn't excite you, but you can do it. So a support role might be something like doing freelance accounting. And that might be something that keeps you afloat, that gives you more flexibility, that allows you to pursue your passions where your full-time job wouldn't let you. So that's a support role, but don't get stuck there. Don't stop there. You have to keep looking for what's really going to fulfill you. So if you have no ideas, if nothing is calling you, there are 3 things to consider in this case. The first thing to consider is what is blocking you. What is keeping you from knowing your own heart? Now, this could be a trauma, or limiting beliefs, or a fear. Somebody mentioned running scripts. Those are all different things that keep us from knowing what we really want. Because sometimes we won't let ourselves see our desires if we don't think that they are possible. So this is why I included a free month of working with my personal teacher, Sonia Sophia, and I strongly recommend that you use her to clear these blockages from your system. The next thing to consider is how much time are you giving to yourself? If you are looking for purpose, a meditation practice is absolutely essential, and I suggest at least 5 minutes every morning and every evening. Journaling and daydreaming are also mandatory. Get fascinated and fall in love with your own internal experience. Notice how you think, what you are drawn to, the way you respond to things. People generally think about their own talents and skills as what they're capable of doing. But in actuality, what makes you unique and what is really your gift, what you have to offer, are things that are more intrinsic to you. The way that you respond, the way that you think, your unique perspective. This is what makes you unique. This is what's going to have you, knowing these things is what's going to have you be able to land the job once you figure out what you want to do. It's going to have your projects succeed because you'll know what you're good at or where your strengths are and find people who complement that. So you want to be noticing, again, how you think, what you're drawn to, and the way you respond to things. Lastly, you got to consider whether you are having enough fun. Get curious and playful and try things for no reason at all. Be spontaneous and purposefully purposeless. So I want to add a note about this, because oftentimes in our culture, we choose entertainment that numbs us out or checks us out of our experience. So we actually get to avoid being ourselves. We get to avoid ourselves. So drinking, going to the movies, certain kinds of social interactions where we basically are checking out. That is going to take you further and further away from your purpose. Whereas if you are doing things that have you get more deeply in your body, social situations with people who really inspire you, doing things that are physically active, being in nature, being in environments that are inspiring, enlightening, that's the kind of fun that's going to have you really learn more about yourself. But again, having a lightness or a purposelessness about it, doing it just for the sake of the joy of doing it. You just want to look for whether it's joy that's inspiring you to do it or whether it's a desire to avoid. So, lastly, I want to talk about the current unfulfilling thing that you're doing. So this was actually the first thing that I mentioned in this video, and it's one of the three categories of questions that were mentioned to me in y'all's emails. It's, I have this job and I hate it, or it's not enough, I feel empty at the end of the day, all of that whole world. And again, in the next video, we're going to be talking about exit strategies, so how to actually step away from that job. But for now, we're going to look at how to put that job to good use. So it's a good thing to have a way to pay the bills. So congratulations. It may be that you feel trapped by it now, but I promise it is actually easier to think creatively about your future when you can buy food. And by the way, if any of you don't have that aspect covered, if you don't know you can buy food, if you don't know you can survive, basically, then you need to get that covered first. There's no way around that. You need to take the shitty job or move back in with your parents, get on food stamps. Do what you need to do so that you don't have to worry about your survival. Now, I really mean survival. I really mean the basics. I'm not talking about if you have enough money, enough spending money to go to the movies or take a trip. If you have your bare necessities handled, you have shelter and food and clothes, and your kids have shelter, food, and clothes, then you have enough free space in your brain to be thinking about more, to be expecting more of your life, not your finances. So that means after that's covered, it's time to shift gears and start thinking about what's actually going to feed you on a whole level. So the fact that you are doing something is a really good sign, and it is going to help you figure out your next step. You want to learn as much as you can about yourself and what you want or what you don't want while you are here at this job. Life purpose, like I said before, is a conversation between you and the world, and this is something that is highlighted in the workplace. Even if you have the worst job in the world, it is still a conversation between you and the rest of the world. And it is just like any other relationship. It takes your attention, it takes your generosity. You can consider that life purpose is not about what you are doing, but it is about who you are being. Who do you want to be? You can start being that now. If you start being who you want to be, the perfectly suited environment for that being, for that person, will start forming around you. And maybe your current job doesn't naturally bring that out in you. Maybe it doesn't bring out the best in you. But by being that, you're actually demanding that your environment change. So either your job will upgrade, or that shift from this job to a job that is more in line with your life purpose is going to happen naturally. This is a good strategy on many levels. You want to bring your best regardless of where you are and regardless of what you're doing. You want to bring your best because this is practice for your next venture when you have something in front of you that you deeply care about. And it's also networking. And it's also an energetic request to the universe that your highest qualities be used by the world. So thank you so much for joining me for this session. I can't wait to read your questions and comments. I love you and I am here for you. Below you can find a list of exercises to go through with your practice partners. Please stay in touch with them, use them as a resource, and share on Facebook and in the comments below about how these exercises are impacting your life. And also be sure to share what actions you're taking on in your life so that we can hold you accountable. Again, I love you and thank you.